All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm quite excited right now that I get to share my story. Um, I'll be going in details with some things that happen in my life that I don't share with a lot of people usually, but that I'm now like ready to start doing this. I'm actually going to be starting a YouTube channel and many things because I now have the freedom to do so, which is great. So I want to start right at the beginning in my youth. I used to be like constantly learning new things. I was considered like almost like a genius for many people, and all my life I've been told that I'm like super intelligent and I should become a doctor, a scientist, an astronaut, like things like that. And to me, like I used to want to become an astronaut actually, but it's the learning aspect was really important to me. And at some point in my, I think I was 19, I came across something that piqued my curiosity like nothing else before. And it was a substance called DMT, which apparently our brain produces by the pineal gland. And people were reporting having like, crazy experiences with that, like going to other dimensions and things like that. So I I never had any drug experience before, and I never really wanted to do anything with that because I was raised thinking that everything was like the devil. I was really fundamental Christian, and so drugs were really like the bad thing to do. You don't want to go there. But my curiosity was stronger than everything else at this point because I realized at some point that the only way for me to know if what they were saying about this was true was to experience it, and so I did, and that completely changed my life. Like that's the first turning point of my life because I was told all my life, and I had like the best grades and things like that. But suddenly, after I did that, I realized that there was more to this world than what we can see, and so because of that, um, it's like all my life I had been studying the tip of the iceberg in the material world, everything that we can see, and there was so much more. And now I had to make a choice. It's either I would continue to do it the way that all the teachers and things like that taught me, or I would actually go where no one had gone and study the unknown and study the unseen. And so that's kind of how I got started because ultimately I realized that no one had told me about this. So I wanted to be someone who tells people about this. And so I continued to do my like, research on that by doing it more and more. And at some point, I decided to go down in South America to do ayahuasca, and something completely crazy happened there also. In a ceremony, I witnessed something that confirmed some of the thinking that I had. And what I witnessed was a shaman had to do an exorcism on someone, and that someone actually like started levitating for a little while. And I say this, and it sounds crazy, even for us in the quantum in the quantum realm, but that's what happened. And I was pretty much sober when that happened. So it's like everything changed once again there because suddenly it was the hypothesis that I had that there was something unseen, that there was another world that existed, and that the material physical world was not the only thing. Well, it kind of got confirmed because now I saw that it could have a physical impact on our world, on the material side. And so that led to me continuing my research. It gave me so much fuel to just continue in my on my quest to understand what's going on really in this reality, in this life, and understand what like this is all about. And so I continued to like after that as soon as I would stop traveling, I'd go back to the regular work and things like that. So it's like I would experience the amazing, the craziness and the surreal, and then I would go back to the mundane momentarily. And then I would go travel again, and that would lead to crazy experiences once again. And what happened after is I found another experience that was called a iboga, and this people were saying that it was even much like stronger than ayahuasca, and it could lead to so many other things. So I said, well, let's go and do it. And that was the third turning point because when I did the iboga ceremony the first time, it brought up to the surface a trauma that I had as a child that I completely forgot, and that it just, I mean, it's as if I didn't even realize that it was still affecting me to this day, and it was something that happened years prior. And so that was crazy. And then once I was able to heal that trauma, when I was able to like hug my inner child in a sense, well, I was able to feel what people have told me all my life, and that feeling is love. Like it's the first time of my life in 21 years, I think I was at that time. I felt love for myself, for existence itself, for everything. It's just like it was so great, like the feeling of self-love, and the feeling of just being in tune with who I am, and forgiving myself and others for all that happened in my life. Because what I realized is, at that time when I was feeling so much love, well, that's ultimately what I want to feel. That's ultimately what I'm looking for. It's this love. And so if all my life, all the experiences that I had, the good, the bad, and the ugly, led me to this point, then it's great, because like that's ultimately what I want to feel, and now I'm feeling it. So everything that happened in my life led me there. So I'm grateful for all the things that happened in my life up to that point. And so after that, it changed my life so much, this iboga experience, that I wanted to give that back to others. And so I decided to learn how to become an iboga provider. And so I went down in Africa, in the jungle of Africa, to train on how to be like how to facilitate these ceremonies. And I learned so much over there, and so many other things happened. Like I would have like stories to tell for hours and hours and days even. Like it's just so much happened there. But then I knew I was able to lead ceremonies, and I went back, helped many people with drug addictions, with traumas, with depression, anxiety, and at a center in Vancouver. And after that, at some point, it's as if I kind of decided that I wanted to be able to help people in a way that didn't involve them taking an external substance. Like I wanted to be able to do what I was able to do with the iboga, but without the iboga. So like learn how to basically work with the energies and work with the field basically. And so I started traveling once again, going to all corners of the earth. And it's just, I mean, it's phenomenal how much I learned from all sorts of teachers that taught me so much. But then I found about, and this is when it is going to tie into the Limbic Arc, because I found a way of healing that is called star magic healing. And this, I took a training course in that. And funny enough, it's using the quantum principle in order to facilitate the healing of someone. So the idea is we use pretty much all the concepts that we're taught here with the Limbic Arc. So it's basically a combination of 5 ingredients, which are love, light, which is information, knowing, so you kind of have to know that it's going to work, intention, that's capital, and the last one is love, light, intention, knowing. Anyways, ultimately what we do is we bring up the hologram of someone, and we quantum entangle the hologram of someone in our imagination. That's the last one, imagination. We quantum entangle the hologram of that person in our imagination, and then we kind of use information that we ask to receive. So the first question in every healing that we do is, please tell me something that I don't know to facilitate the healing of this wonderful human being. And so then we just wait. We wait for the information through our intuition, through the field, through the quantum realm, to just come into our imagination. And then we kind of use what we see to help the person. And so it's always different, because we're always getting new information, because the field is infinite. It doesn't have boundaries. And so I did that for some time, but out of the ingredients, the one I struggled the most with was the knowing. It's like what I was doing, I kind of didn't trust that I was doing anything. I didn't have the necessary knowledge and understanding to really like believe that what I was doing anything. And so now comes in the limbic arc, where recently I got in the limbic arc, and honestly, that it changed everything, because now I have a tangible application of these concepts that I learned, and I can now like receive the benefits of it. And I witnessed the benefits of it many times in the short time that I was there. It started with the energy levels, because with all that I did in my life, and I mean, there's so much more than what I shared so far, but the one thing that I could not like fix for myself, even after all these learning, all the trauma healing, all the and I did so many like cleanses, fasting, went on some crazy things. Like I'm pretty much like, I research everything, and since the first time I experimented with something and it changed my life, I just decided that I would be like, I would conduct my own experiments. When someone tells me that something can help, uh, I'm gonna do it. So I did so many crazy things, like, and but I mean, so many aspects of my life got transformed, and the only thing was the fatigue, and that's basically the first day I went on the limbic arc. I put on the energy one, and that's it. Basically transformed the last 15 years of fatigue that I have in one day. Like, it's crazy. I did so many things, and the only thing that really helped with the fatigue and the energy levels and the like the feeling refreshed when I wake up, and the all the everything that relates to our energy level, well, it's when I saw the limbic arc that everything shifted. And so I'm so grateful. I used to have to sleep 10 hours, like pretty much minimum every single day. And if I slept less than that, I would need like massive amounts of caffeine to just function in my work and in things like that. And it's, I hated the taste of caffeine. Like, there's one thing that I don't like in this world. It's coffee. I don't like the taste of coffee. But at some point, I even got on caffeine pills because I couldn't stand the taste of coffee. But I needed the caffeine, because if not, I would just lay around doing nothing. But with the limbic arc, well, no need for caffeine, no need for anything. Just need to press activate, and that's it. Like, it's so straightforward and so easy. And but also, like, that's the first thing. But so many crazy things happen after. I told you about the star magic healing. Well, because I didn't really trust anything, I kind of didn't advertise myself. I didn't do anything with it, and I just like I think it was a year ago that I did this training, and I mean, I basically didn't do anything with it. But last week, I had someone out of the blue asking me to do that on her. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, sure. I mean, I haven't done it in months, but let's go. And I was on the energy and the focus. And oh my God, like, what happened during that session, I mean, it was phenomenal. I've never experienced anything like that. Every single concept, every single thing that I learned last year, everything, I just applied it like flawlessly. It was perfection, and so many things happened during this healing, and she felt like everything, and to the point where she actually had to throw up during the healing. Like, it's crazy. Like, it was phenomenal. I really like, it's as if like I'm connected to the quantum field so much more because of the limbic arc right now. And so this healing modality that I know it's just like magnified in a way. So this is just phenomenal, and that's why I say that the limbic arc, at the moment, we're kind of using it for our health and for just benefiting our body and our energy levels, and like people who have pain to want to reduce pain and all sorts of things like that. But ultimately, I think the limbic arc is tapped in to our purpose, and our purpose ultimately on earth is to be ourselves. And to do that, well, if you're like our real self, our full like being, inner being, it's not someone who's sick, it's not someone who's diseased. And so because if you just look at the word dis-ease, what does it say? Dis and ease. So it's like, it's not a state of ease. And what happened, like, there's disinformation also. That's anti-information. Well, dis-ease is anti-ease. And so information can bring ease, and that's what we're getting from the info boost. So that's great. But ultimately, our natural state of being is this energetic self. It's creative, it's intelligence, it's love. Above everything else, it's love, and everything else is just an expression of love. That was actually revealed in one of possibly the biggest experience I've ever had in my life, which, funnily enough, happened right after I had the most fearful experience of my life. It's like, once I was able to transcend the fear, that's when I was able to feel like unconditional love from everything. And it's like the experience, how it happened, my heart opened up, and instantly this wave of electric discharge happened all over my body, coming right from my heart. And it just, I literally, my whole body started vibrating, and it's just so much love. Like, it's impossible to even describe. I was in another world when it happened. I was literally in a world that only love existed. There's nothing else. And like fear, doubts, worries, all of these, I realized in that moment that it's just all an illusion, because it's like love is really all there is. And so, and then it's like knowing that when you're back, it's always, ultimately the story is to remember that we are this love, and that we can share it, and it's infinite, it's expansive, it's always growing. And so I think that the limbic arc is enabling us to tap into that even more, because when we're healthy, it's so much easier to feel love. Let's be honest here, like to feel free, to feel abundant, to feel like all these positive emotions. Well, if you're in a healthy body, if you're energetic, if you're motivated, I mean, it's so easier to feel these things. And so it's just phenomenal how it can affect us in this way. And I've had, aside from the energy and focus, I've had many little proofs that I call them, because when I had the exorcism thingy, that was my big proof for that something else than the physical exists. Well, that's kind of how my brain works. I really like these proofs. And one of the proofs that I got recently was, I found so funny. Like, when it happened, I started laughing, and I think I laughed for 2 minutes straight. I was just it was so funny, because I was on watermelon juices, and I have been drinking watermelon juice for 1 week straight, only watermelon juice, and fresh pressed juice. And I ran out of watermelon, and I did a dry fast for 1 day, so I didn't get any water or watermelon juice. And then I did the Spark scan, and first ingredient at the top of the list, watermelon, 97%. I was like, oh my gosh. It's as if it was confirming me that what I was doing was not only good for me, but my body was like, okay, so I see that you stopped. Well, we're going to give you the information momentarily for you to continue this watermelon thingy that you're doing, because you actually need it. So this is just phenomenal. And also, like, so at some point I was working on a computer for many hours, got some like quite strong neck pain at some point, because my posture was not as good as it should be, and put on the inflammation, and another one, I don't remember what was the other one, but I went to sleep, and I woke up a few hours later and no neck pain. So that was another, like, a bit proof for me. And but ultimately, like, what we have here is a technology that is directly tapped into the quantum field, and that our body, which is also directly tapped into the quantum field, can tell us, out of all the ingredients, which at the moment there was like 450, well, the body tells us which mix of these ingredients that we need in order to be our best self, basically, our most, like, the self that has the most vitality, the most motivation, the most love, the most freedom, the most abundance. Like the body, that's what it wants. It doesn't want to be unhealthy. Like it does, like it compartmentalize everything to, like all the toxins that we ingest, like that's present in the food, in the water, in the air, and in the vaccines and everything. There's so many things going on right now that our body is just like, all right, here's one more. We're gonna have to do our best to continue to function even with all the crap you're putting in us. So of course the body wants to be healthy. It doesn't want to have to do this. It wants to be vital. It wants to be energetic. So when it comes into this library that we have on the cloud, well, it's just like, all right, well, the best things for me to actually deal with all the crap right now is these things, this, and this, and this. And there's so much more going on than what we can see. A quick example, we don't know all the different plants and how they interact with each other. For example, the botanicals, if you just look at that, just quick example, I mentioned ayahuasca earlier. Ayahuasca is a mix between two plants. One of them has a certain effect, one of them has a certain effect, but when you combine them together, it creates a whole different effect that neither of these on their own could have. And so how many of these exist? How many of these mixes exist that we just don't know because we never mix these plants together? And so what we have with the limbic arc, well, the ability to kind of mix the information of these plants perfectly, because it's the body that's creating its own mix. It's like that's what I need right now, and combining these elements together is actually going to help me release the limiting beliefs that I have. It's going to help me achieve a state of vitality. It's going to help me achieve like the info boost that you put. So it's going to help me with energy. It's going to help me with pain relief. It's going to help me with stress relief. It's going to help me like all these different boosts that we have. The body is just saying, yeah, if you mix these, that's going to help me doing that. And so it's and something that I need to mention, because it's something else that I had an experience at some point. Honestly, I'm so blessed with the amount of experiences that I had in my life. It's just like, it's impossible to even fathom how grateful I am that I was able to go through all these things. It's just phenomenal that we are able, that I was able to go through this. And I honestly, it's like, at this point that I am right now, I realize that I have to share this. I cannot keep it for myself anymore. It's just, there's so much, and I can help so many people. But intelligence, we think we're so intelligent right now, but I had an experience that showed me that the level of intelligence that we have right now is nothing compared to the intelligence that we can have. It's really, there is so much more going on. And there's one time I had a very intense conversation with someone, and after that I went to sleep, and suddenly this loud noise appeared inside my brain, and that's a similar noise to when I have these plant medicine experience. But this noise that appeared, I didn't take any drugs or anything like that. I have not done it for like a long time, but on that particular day, I was perfectly sober, and this happened. And suddenly, after this noise, I was able to think like 1,000,000 times better than normal. It's impossible really to describe, because as soon as it was done, the memory of it was mostly gone, but the feeling of it remained. And I remember the feeling clearly of being able to think like 1,000 different things simultaneously. So, when you have your regular train of thought, suppose you're thinking, well, you kind of have one train of thought. Like it's like it goes in a straight line. But if I were to tell you to think of two different stories at the same time, it's not going to work. You're going to go back and forth between the first and the second one, and first and the second one, but not both of them at the same time. And in these 10 minutes that this experience lasts, I was able to think about like 1,000 things simultaneously. It's impossible to describe. It's so more advanced than our regular state of being. And so because of that, I know that what we're experiencing right now, like humanity as a whole, it's kind of like we're in in our infancy stage. We're literally just, it's like we just came alive. Consciousness is we're at the beginning point of it. Like we're conscious right now, we're self-aware, but there's so much more than that going on, so much more. and yeah, the limbic arc, I think it's a way to, it's a way of moving forward to access these heightened states of consciousness and to increase our capacity to be creative, to tap in to the quantum field, which contains everything. Like everything is there. There's nothing that you can imagine that doesn't exist in the quantum field. So if you can imagine something, it exists. And yeah, so getting the information, and also even with the limbic arc, it's just the beginning. Dr. Cook and the rest of the team are working constantly to add new things. Like there's the imponderables recently that to help us deal with the 5G, with the electromagnetic, with the, like that's phenomenal. That's amazing. And I mean, they're not stopping. That this technology has so much potential. We're like, this is before the beginning of how much it can be. Like this is really, if you're here right now listening to this, like you have the right to be grateful right now to know about this at this time, because this is going to grow exponentially, because it works. And not only it works, it's basically the future of medicine. It's energy medicine. I mean, it's really, at the moment, it's just in constant expansion. And this energy medicine, and the old ways are kind of letting room for the new ways. And so like so much more people are interested in their health right now, especially with the COVID thing. People that are looking for new ways to boost their health right now. And well, InfoBoost can definitely do that. Like, definitely. And there's one other aspect that I wanted to share also. What was it again? I forgot. Well, that's fine. I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you for listening, everyone.